Hey people, hope you're having a wonderful day. This is going to be my tips and tricks for Romancing Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven. Timestamps will be down below, but I'll be simply going through the tutorial, use some tips and tricks on how to get a better start at the game. First of all, we'll start off with starting a new save. Personally, I suggest picking casual difficulty or normal due to the tutorial. Kind of want to be avoiding leveling up as well as combat in general during the tutorial. And I'll touch on that later on in the tutorial. So I'm just going to pick casual. Don't worry about this. I am a pro. I beat this game before. Here you get to pick your final emperor. I suggest picking whatever gender that you are. It's not really super important until the very end of your run. There's pluses and negatives to picking either of these characters. But I'm a dude, so I'm going to pick the dude. So first off, we start off with Leon and Gerard. The only thing I really recommend super duper is equipping martial arts on Gerard, as he has nothing in his second weapon slot. The way that difficulty works in this game, every single combat that you participate in slightly will raise countdown timer until the next shift of difficulty. Basically, the game works sort of like Oblivion, where everything's rubber banded to scale to appropriately around your level. However, there are static mobs outside in the wild, which will give you a heightened amount of XP bonuses when you defeat them. So that's why it's advisable to sort of avoid combat in the tutorial, as the XP that you get is very low. That's also why you don't really have to worry too much about being super efficient in the early game. All I really suggest mainly is if we look at the weapon types on this graph here, basically whenever anyone uses a weapon within combat, it increases the global level of every weapon type in your kingdom. So you want to sort of have a character using one of every weapon type, maximize on sort of even leveling for your entire kingdom. So I have with Gerard, Leon, longsword, and fleuret, as well as martial arts. When I'm in combat, I want to sort of at least use each of these once. But first of all, let's go get our other teammates. They're further down in. These two combats are not necessary, so I like to skip them. You want to be picking stuff up like this. Now we have a more fuller party. So the next combats we have to do, the only thing I really recommend is that you equip Bear with martial arts, as he has no second weapon slot. And we want to be leveling up martial arts when we can. Another thing is next 2 combats or 5 combats are guaranteed. You're going to have to do them at some point, and there's no point in running away from them or whatever. One thing to note is 3s has water magic. You want to be using this almost every combat so that the global level of water magic increases, as well as spell casting in general. Leon also has light magic, so you want to be using that much as possible. Also my first combat, so what I like to do is slowly go down the list so that I don't forget any. I'll also use healing even if I don't think I'm going to need. Every single time you use an attack with a light bulb over it, you have a chance of unlocking a special ability. Here I learned Stun Slash. Now, as you can see here, I used all of the weapon types within the combat, and I was able to level up every single weapon type that I used. I'll show you the results after the tutorial. But I'm probably just going to skip to the end of the tutorial and show you my result. During combat, you'll get the opportunity to use a team attack to end it. This will get you a slight bonus on XP. When you hit weaknesses or back attack, this will increase your gauge a little. Now, after the tutorial, you'll notice that we did 4 battles and 4 victories, and our enemy strength didn't go up. But as you can see here, I used all the weapon types that were available to me, and I got this amount of global levels from that. We also made a little bit of money, if you can see in the top right. That's because every single encounter we earn a set amount of money based on the development of our castle. That's another reason why we want to avoid encounters in the early game. Once you get control of Leon again, you can actually just switch people out from your party by talking to them. By adding them to your party, even just temporarily, you get access to all of their weapons as well as armor and stuff like that, so you can put it on your more active party member. Personally, I like to switch out Therese with Emerald, as she is adept at the same weapon types as her, and is just about as tanky. Ares as well, I like to switch him out Bear for him, due to the fact that Leon is just about as tanky as Bear, and will probably be taking the lead position. And look at the life points, he can die like quite a lot of times. But yeah, I suggest you maybe do this. Now, I also like to buy some of the armor here, because some of the first fights can be a little bit tough, depending. After that, I like to equip everyone with all the junk that I've been able to collect from all my party members, etc., giving them a slight defensive edge. Also, in terms of weapon types and stuff like that, the mages, when auto-equipped, will probably just equip whatever has the highest damage, but generally, this guy likes maces and martial arts. He likes longbows and fleuret. In terms of Gerard, I'd suggest just equipping Iron Sword and Fleuret, as he's pretty terrible at everything else. Same for Leon. This guy wants a great sword and a spear, as he's like the only one that's probably good at using them. In terms of like stats and stuff like that, generally these will tell you what types that they're good at. You can see that this guy already has skill levels in these skills, etc. So you can get a kind of gauge of it, but obviously the mages start off pretty awful at everything. Spells. But another reason why you want these guys in your party, because they also get this, so that you can have access to spell casting, which a lot of the characters do not have at the start of the game. Generally with Watchman's Nest, we want to just run through to the end and fight the bad guys. But try and get all the treasure chests on the way. Don't worry if you get into a combat or whatever. Just make sure to finish the combat, as running away will penalize you. But otherwise than that, just try and get all the chests and beat the boss. After the events of Watchman's Nest, you'll go to Somon. Everything here, basically you don't have to worry about treasure chests or whatever. Just get to the end and fight the boss. If the boss proves too difficult, don't feel too bad turning down the difficulty, as it can be a little bit of a toughie. But other than that, just all the enemies in this area are pretty trash for XP, and all the treasure chests, like this area becomes peaceful later on, and you can just find all the treasure chests done. During Somon, you might encounter these sort of chests with mimics inside. These guys I approve killing them, as they give tons of XP, regardless of what level you're at. But be sure to put the difficulty down, because they can be quite difficult. Sometimes when you win a combat, you can also glimmer spells. An important spell that you might want to get is Moonlight, but don't be too sad if you don't get it, but this is a good one to get. Don't feel bad for having to leave after some of the mimic fights, as they will use a lot of your BP to... If you avoid combat just like me, every single time you traverse into a new room, it autosaves. So don't feel bad if you just want to lose your autosave if you got into a combat you didn't want to get into. Sometimes you're just better like loading your autosave over escaping, because generally when you escape, sometimes it autosaves and then it registers that escape even though you just reloaded. But yeah, I'm going to show you some examples of me ducking and diving some of the enemies on the way to the final boss here, so you can get an idea of how to do that yourself. This is my equipment layout for the final boss of Somon. Don't use Lob Omen's final strike ability, as it will cause it to explode. Active Suit is one of these equipment items that uses up multiple of your equipment slots, but it is worth it overall due to the general defensive value that it's given. This is usually for heavy infantry, but I've equipped it to Leon because he's acting as our heavy infantry. The Somon ring is one of the better rings in the game that allows you to have status effect resistance to almost all status effects. Be sure to equip the headband and the erudite robe onto the mages, as it increases their magic skill. stat. This is also applies to other items in the game, and it's something that you should be wary of when you're equipping them. Also equip the stone cudgel if you got it at the Watchman's nest onto the mage, as it's actually a higher damage weapon for this part of the game, but you won't really be doing much damage physically. Other than that, there's not really that much to note about the equipment you can get here. Just have a good luck with the boss, as he can be quite difficult. Don't be shy of like turning down the difficulty if you need. As for tactics for the actual boss fight itself, you don't get any experience for this fight, so just aim down the middle body with as many team attacks as you can with both Leon and James, and you'll do enough damage to end the fight. A little heads up on the weapon types that the boss is weak to is Fleuret, Bow, Fire, Light, and Greatsword. So try and use those as much as possible. Suggest using the Light Bulb weapon type if you can, as this fight can actually glimmer a few attacks. After the events of what happened at Somon, you will now be put into Jared's shoes. However, we're going to leave off there for now, and I'm going to make my next part of the guide starting off at Gerard. If you guys found this guide helpful, let me know, and like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to make a few more guides about this game and cover a few things to help people just starting out this game try and get their footing. Anyway, hope you guys have a lovely day.